Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kia ora, ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. It's great to take a call tonight on the Royal Society of New Zealand Amendment Bill, and in particular on Clause 6. Now, Mr. Chair, before I begin, it's good to see this bill in the House. The Green Party will be supporting it, and it's good to see only the member from Mana has been in this House at a shorter time than I, and I've got to say, and he might agree, probably the most intellectual debate I've seen in my 1 year in this chamber tonight on the Royal Society Bill, in particular because of the calls by the former Minister Pete Hodgson in the chair. So it's good to be having this debate because it's crucial, I think, that we talk about the humanities. Often in New Zealand in the last couple of decades, it's been seen as a valueless part of academia or part of our society. There's been focusing on research, science and technology, yet the emphasis from our universities to our schools has been away from the humanities. So it's good to see this debate, good to see this bill, and in Part 6 is the crucial clause, is the clause which changes the object of the Royal Society. Now, I've got a whole bunch of questions. They might get addressed in supplementary order papers or further calls tonight, but first I just want to look at the wording, and my questions to the member in the chair or members on the select committee. I note that in Clause 6, it's the only part of this, albeit pretty small piece of legislation, that only calls it the Society, not the Royal Society. Now, I'm a vowed Republican, and I'd quite like to see the Royal Society's name changed, and maybe we'll get that part of the debate later on tonight. But why do we not have Royal in this line? So maybe some member can explain it. Being a new member, maybe there's a common sense explanation, but I'm not sure what it is. So I haven't in particular followed this bill through the House or through the Select Committee, but I thought I'd take a call tonight because I've got a humanities academic background. At University of Victoria, University of Wellington, I studied religious studies, history, two of the areas listed in the definition in Part 5 of this bill, and then I've got a postgrad degree in political science, one of those topics which are on the cusp. Is it a science? Is it a politics? I'm sorry, member? Thanks very much for that contribution, which I couldn't quite hear. But anyway, I've got a background in humanities, so that's why I thought I'd take a call on Part 6 on this crucial clause. It's the only call I'll be taking, because what it does is amend the object of the Society, which currently is the advancement and promotion of New Zealand science, technology, and what we're doing is adding humanities. Now, I wasn't able to take a call on the previous Part 5, which looks at the definitions, but I do want to raise a couple of questions that correspond from the decisions made in Part 5, because what Part 5 does, it defines what humanities is by listing what they think they are. So they've got languages, not including English or te reo, history, religion, 2 degrees I studied at University in Wellington, philosophy, law. What it's missing, of course, is a whole bunch of others, from music, dance, visual arts, sociology. And I think the problem is, and I'm not sure if it was raised on the Select Committee, it'd be great if a member could take a call on it, is what they've done is they've defined it as a list of topics. Because an equally valid way is of defining what humanities is an approach. Now, one good quote I've found which shows the difference between humanities and the sciences is that it's not a list of topics that defines what humanities is, it's an approach to the question. It's all about the question that you actually ask. So they define humanities as an interpreted method of finding truth rather than explaining the causality of events or uncovering the truth of the natural world. Now, I think what we're going to find is by using Clause 5 and defining it as a list of topics, some we agree with, some we disagree, some not included like te reo or Indigenous studies. What we're going to see is an increasing technological world, a whole bunch of new potential humanities subjects coming in, but they're not going to be defined in this legislation. So we may find ourselves in this chamber in the future adding more topics as our society enriches, as we find new fields for the study of advancement of looking at approaching the question which is humanities. And I think we might rightfully see what this clause does is amending the work of the Royal Society, is that people challenging the Royal Society because they're saying the Royal Society isn't adequately advocating or promoting or advancing their particular topic. Now, hypothetical examples, astrology. Maybe that's a humanity, maybe it's a science. I personally disagree with it. or the science of studying mysterious animals like the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. Now, someone legitimately could go to the Royal Society and say, this is what I define a humanities subject as, why aren't you advancing or promoting my humanity? So I think possibly the problem is that in Part 5 we've defined it as a list of subjects when in fact maybe we should have listed it. Mr Chair.
Go immediately, Ross.